Many thanks for choosing us. Let's begin with communities situated downstream of highly polluted Ofin and Pra rivers who are paying dearly for activities of illegal mining. The main water sources of residents of Beposo Dunkwao, among others in the Shamat district of the Western region, have been destroyed by illegal miners who have pitched camps upstream in Ashanti Central and Western regions. Though there are no galamsey operations downstream, residents have been left with a brownish, milky-looking water sources. Ohiminteria recently visited some affected communities and reports waterborne diseases are rife as residents are forced to use polluted water.
My trip took me to Atrebuana, a farming community situated downstream of the main Pra River in the Shamat district of the Western region. The mainstay of residents here is crop and vegetable production, fishing and basket weaving. Residents depend on the Pra River for their livelihood as they use water from the stream for household chores, including bathing, irrigating crops and fishing activities. Like Beposo, Supom Dunkwao and Bokokope, the community, with a population of about 1,000 residents, is feeling the negative impact of illegal mining activities. The river has been polluted and its color turned milky. The Ofin River is a major tributary of the main Pra River, which enters the Gulf of Guinea in nearby Shamat in the Western region. At 6 a.m., children, some as young as 2 years, are seen taking their bath in this stream before school. One of them is Andrews Techi, a JHS 2 student. As a practice, he and other children in this community take their shower in the stream every morning. This has become a routine for Andrews and many children in this community.
When we wake up, this water that day we come and bath. We don't have water, that's why we came here and bath.
As a first-time visitor, I wondered why these kids would use dirty brownish water from the much polluted Pra River to wash down. It is obvious turbidity in the water is extremely high, above the Environmental Protection Agency's recommended limit. It is common to see Pra and other river bodies affected by illegal mining where harmful chemicals such as mercury are used in this state. Residents in communities along the River Pra, such as this community, Beposo, Atrebuana and others, say they have been impacted negatively by the activity of illegal miners. River Pra is highly polluted. Though Talo Ghana in 2016 commissioned a mechanized water project to supply residents of Atrebuana with clean drinking water, residents can no longer get wholesome water for their household needs due to equipment breakdown. They say the problem has persisted for several years. Assemblyman for New Junction Amisa Krombo Kokope electoral area, Alpha Justice Wonche, laments the situation.
Yes, this is the only source of water. From, let's say, 1.5 years, 2 years, they all bath. At this point, early in the morning, you see them, no matter how the weather, if it is even chilled weather or if it is hot weather, this same river that they bath in before going to school.
The practice is impacting negatively on health of residents, especially children. Authorities at the Community Health-Based Planning Services Chief Compound say residents are plagued with malaria, cough, and waterborne diseases such as scabies, diarrhea, and bilharziasis. The assistant headmaster of the local Atrebuana DA Primary and JHS, Kwasia Pierre, revealed school children have been asked not to bath in the stream because of dangers posed by chemicals used in galamsey operations.
We have been fetching this water, we have been drinking it all the time. When the galamsey started the galamsey work, we stopped. We have stopped the children from taking their bath at the riverside because there are some chemicals that galamsey people use, which is affecting them. In fact, it gives them some diseases. If you could observe, plenty of the children have some scars in their hair. It is through this river that they have been taking their bath in.
Unfortunately, that directive is yet to be adhered to by Andrews and several other children who have no alternative water source. The assemblyman, Mr. Woncha, is not only passionate about the situation, but also concerned with the negative impact of illegal mining activities on communities downstream.
It is very heartbreaking. It is very, very, very heartbreaking because there's a saying in Akan proverb, we are not happy with the activities of this galamsey up there, and we are suffering from the consequences of it. We are urging the president and then the MPP government to in fact fast-track things in order to prevent those people in these water bodies.
The challenges of affected communities such as Accra are compounded by flooding.
Fuel
The minority in parliament is mounting pressure on President Akufo-Addo's government to cushion Ghanaians in the face of escalating fuel prices. Diesel is selling for more than 23 cedis, whilst petrol is hovering around 18 cedis. Speaking to journalists, minority spokesperson on energy, John Jinapor, said the government has been making supernormal profits from the rising prices of crude on the international market and must use that to cushion the Ghanaian consumer.
Fuel that was selling at 6.5 CD per liter has now increased by 300% in less than 1 year. The price of fuel at the pump has increased by more than 300%. Indeed, today, fuel is more costly than even the minimum wage. I've never witnessed that in my life. Today, as we speak, a gallon of diesel sells at about 105 Ghana cedi. This government is making so much money from the Ukraine-Russian war. In the 2022 budget, government projected that it will receive a total amount of about 6 billion for the whole of 2022. That is what was projected in the budget. Today, as we speak, from the PIAC report, in less than 3 months, and I mean just 1 quarter, government has received over 8 billion cedis from our petroleum resources. So in 3 months, government has received more than it projected for the whole year. So government is making supernormal profit. In fact, even the price stabilization and recovery levy, which is supposed to subsidize fuel, government projected that in the first 2 quarters, it will receive 269 million. As we speak, from the Ministry of Finance's own record, government has received about 800 million. And so this notion that government is not making revenue is a fallacy. It's a complete falsehood. Government is making so much money from our petroleum resources. I therefore call on President Akufo-Addo and the outgoing Minister of Finance that they should do something about this price increment. These difficult moments, if it means that government has to use part of our petroleum resources to subsidize fuel, let them do that. Moreover, there's a price stabilization and recovery levy. It is there to subsidize fuel.
Exactly.
It has accumulated a lot of money, and they should apply that money.
John Jinapor described as wishful thinking an announcement by the president that the government was working to secure affordable fuel for the Ghanaian market, questioning where they will get that from.
We are saying that the government can apply these supernormal profits to cushion the ordinary consumer. That's what we are saying. And we've demonstrated to you that government is getting more than it required even in the first quarter. We've demonstrated to you that the price stabilization levy, instead of the 260 million, they've gotten about 800 million. We are also adding to the call of President Mahama that the Tema Oil Refinery, as a matter of urgency, with immediate effect, should process Ghana's domestic crude. That can give us about 45,000 barrels of processed crude every day. That will put a less of a burden on the need for forex. This is not rocket science. This is something we attempted doing by giving Tema Oil Refinery 2 million barrels of oil from the 10 fields under President Mahama. This government took over and sold that barrels of oil. And so something can be done. The president says he's going to look for cheaper oil. From where? From APAM. And he did not even give us timelines. These wishful thinkings would not solve the problem. The only thing that will solve it is a practical way, and we have enumerated steps that the president can take in order to address the challenge that we are going through.
We can go live to Parliament and speak with parliamentary correspondent Kweku Asante, who joins us with details. Kweku, have we had any response from the majority side yet?
So indeed, Aisha, the majority said they are studying the content of this news conference that have been put out by John Jinapor. They say they are set to, as it were, point holes to the so-called fallacies that have been put out by John Jinapor, and that some of the figures and the data he put out does not affect reality. But the minority are insisting that government can do something to cushion Ghanaians in these trying moments, either through subsidies or either through using the windfall government have gotten from the wide profits from petroleum products due to the international prices escalating. And so they want government to do something immediately. They are calling the president as well as the finance minister to put their acts together and act to cushion Ghanaians. We know that diesel is selling around 23 cedis, petrol around 18 cedis, and these have been very big challenges for the ordinary consumer.
Kweku, what other business is the House considering?
So the House has been looking at various reports that have been put together by its committees. Just gone by the Employment and Social Welfare Committee considered the report having to do with GMPC and its financial standards. MPs are concerned that GMPC is veering off its core mandate, doling out cash to places where it should not be doing so. Indeed, Dr. Kwame Donko has been saying that at this rate, GMPC could be going bankrupt because of how it is managing its finances, and MPs are not excited about that at all.
Kweku Asante is our parliamentary correspondent. We definitely will bring you more from Parliament as events unfold in that House. Now, anti-corruption campaigner Adam Senano has called for an investigation into an assertion by Majority Leader Chairman Sabunso that a wealthy businessman attempted to do something on behalf of Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta when some majority NPP MPs asked for his removal. Chairman Sabunso disclosed that such an attempt had been made when he spoke to my colleague Evans Mensah on PM Express last night.
Aware of that. I'm not privy to whatever inducements that people are offering. I'm not privy to that at all. As I told you, I've been away since Thursday. I've heard though that some businessman came here, was it the Thursday that I left? I came here Thursday early morning and left around, I think, 10 o'clock or so to where we're having the cabinet retreat. I'm told on authority that some businessman came here and tried to do something. He's a businessman that I know. Honestly, I've not spoken with him ever since I heard that matter. And I don't want to, cite him here, but I've not spoken with him. I was told that he came here and tried to mediate in his own way what he thinks the problem is and try to...
This is a wealthy businessman, is he?
Come again?
This is a wealthy businessman, is he?
Is a wealthy businessman that people know. And so that's all that I know about it. But he was repelled by the people and he was told to not to involve himself. So he went away. So that's all that I've heard. I don't know of any other thing.
Okay. I mean, he wasn't here on the authority of Ken Ofori-Atta, was he?
I've not spoken with him, and I don't want to be presumptuous.
Okay. And the suggestion, well, and there could be also a republic. I mean, he didn't go into detail, but of course, businessmen in Ghana have a reputation in these matters of using their wealth to try and influence. If that is what is something you want to look into?
Well, if that is the case, I want to talk to that man and know his motive. But I mean, people could also be indulging in speculation. So we want to hear him to see what it is. Did they come here? What did they come with? Any inducement? What was the motivation? Not having heard him, I don't want to prejudge anything.
Is he an MPP financier?
Not that I know.
You heard the majority leader, Chairman Sabonso. Now, the governing party's MPs had last week taken unprecedented step of holding a press conference demanding that the president sacks his finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, and Minister of State, Charles Edouard. They blamed the two gentlemen for the country's current economic crisis. Speaking to JoyNews, MP for Asante Achim North, Andy Appiah-Kubi, who is also the public face for the majority group of MPs demanding the sacking of the finance minister, disclosed that the businessman offered money when they met him in Parliament.
The man came and talked to us about it. One thing, he said that it is not in the interest of the business community to see this confusion in governance, and therefore, for the sake of the business community and their businesses, let us ensure there is tranquility in the business space, in the political space. We listened to him, and he said that when he had come here to talk to us, we had given him the opportunity to address us, and therefore he wants to leave something behind for us. We did. He got somebody bring it, and we said, sorry, we cannot take anything. We returned the money to him, and he took it away. So it ended there.
How much money did he offer?
We did not open it to count.
Is this something that was in a bag or on an envelope?
Was in an envelope, but we did not open to count. Mm-hmm. The big envelope was not open to count.
Sorry, you said it was a big envelope?
Yes.
So when you met him, this was the entire caucus, or just those of you 80 or so who first held the press conference?
No, it was not the entire caucus. It was the group that came out on the day.
Anti-corruption campaign Adam Senano joins us for more on this. Mr. Senano, I'm grateful for your time this afternoon. Have you already petitioned the special prosecutor on this for further investigation?
No, we haven't done that.
And so what do you seek government to do on this one?
Well, obviously, it wouldn't be in our interest to ask government to take any action. I mean, if it were so you're talking about the legislative arm of government. We'll find out from the special prosecutor whether this is something they would be interested in. The whole idea of monetization of our politics is one that is scary as it is dangerous. When you have political parties and representatives who've been paid to take particular positions, it's not just stopping at the decision. It can go into the kind of contracts, the kind of policies. At the end of the day, it will not serve the majority of citizens. So this is a very important issue.
So what kind of probe are we talking about, Mr. Senano?
This is more of an investigation because on the surface of it, no crime has been committed, at least as of yet, based on what they have said, that they didn't collect the money, so there's been no influence. However, the fact that somebody had the audacity or temerity to approach the third arm of government and say that even though the majority of the representatives of the people have come to a conclusion that it is in the interest of citizens that the finance minister be removed for now, which makes sense based on global trends. When markets are destabilized, typically, especially in the finance and economic space, you move an individual who's in charge, you put somebody else who brings some kind of additional credibility, and then the markets respond. So for the reps to say we are taking a decision, which in itself was unprecedented, and then a businessman to say, I am coming because it doesn't serve my business, one wants to find out what interest is he protecting. Does that mean he already has some procurement processes, some contracts in the government space that this particular minister is likely to approve of and to push, and so his absence becomes a risk to their business? Or is there some future interest that he's seeking to promote? I mean, these are important questions that could be investigated. And it should be investigated so that we have a better understanding of the person and the nature of what he intended to do.
So you've indicated that you'll find out if the special prosecutor is interested in this matter. But if not the special prosecutor, then who do you seek to do this investigation?
Well, at the moment, one hasn't looked at it. You probably need some legal analysis as well. The thing is, because there's not a crime one can place your finger on, it's more of investigation. So, but until you have evidence that there's been a crime, we can't talk about CID or any of the others that will be looking at the specific crime. So, for now, special prosecutor, if it doesn't work, we'll need to do some analysis of who might be interested in this. Otherwise, investigative journalists. So, the Manassas, Erastus, and the like. I mean, many of them from your stable, yeah.
So the two MPs have actually admitted that the man approached them with money. Isn't that enough evidence for an investigation?
Well, because they said they didn't even count it. What if somebody argues there was no money in the envelope? I'm wondering, how did they know there was money? So they opened it and saw the cash. We need to find out whether attempted bribery, I don't know. One needs to investigate some more and find out what are the possible angles. But it is frightening to think that when you have 18 members of the majority taking a position and you already knew where the minorities stood, somebody would have the audacity to think that money can change the position in spite of how the country feels. It tells you that people have got to a point where they think that they can use money to change the course of development of this nation. And that's the important thing, because what it means is that rather than seek quality policies, quality ideas, people think that money can turn and thwart the intentions of the people of Ghana.
Well, it will be interesting to get the outcome of such investigations if it begins at all. I'm grateful for your time, Adam Senano. He's an anti-corruption campaigner. Now, in 2017, President Akufo-Addo had the vision to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa by 2020. That vision changed to the end of 2024 when Sanitation Minister Cecilia Dapa addressed the media in 2019. 6 years into the president's promise to make Accra the cleanest, the coalition of the NGOs in water and sanitation is not impressed with the work done so far. Jojo Kobina and Efua Adadewa Esiama have more in this edition of Joy News Tracker.
By the end of the 4 years of my term in office as president, Accra will be the cleanest city in Africa.
It was a promise that gave the country hope. To sanitation watchers, it was a right signal to residents to keep the environment clean. For many years, the city of Accra has been infamous for its filth. Streets, markets and drains are adorned with filth. The bad sanitation in the city is a major contributor to perennial flooding that cost the lives of many. To show greater commitment and reverse this worrying trend, President Akufo-Addo launched a national sanitation campaign and laid out a plan to attain the promise to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa.
This comprehensive program will include the establishment of a National Sanitation Authority and the establishment of a dedicated sanitation fund to help make our nation clean. Successive Ghanaian governments have tried to reverse this trend and inculcate a habit of greater discipline in the care of our surroundings. It has not succeeded. My government intends to make a fresh start.
But along the line, the story changed.
The president actually meant it when he made the promise, and you could see the genuineness of it. But he lacked the backing of his ministers, who was speaking one thing when the president was speaking another thing. The ministry officially started shifting statements that, oh, the president didn't mean the first term. The president actually meant his tenure in office.
And he also lacked the cooperation of his Minister of Finance to actually put in the budget that should go with the promise.
In 2019, Sanitation Minister Cecilia Dapar, realizing that the promise could not be achieved, extended the deadline to 2024.
Inshallah, the president will go for 2 terms, and at the end, Accra would have been, and we are on course. God is in control, and the battle is still the Lord's. And to tell you that His Excellency the President is so serious with this call to all of us to make Accra the cleanest city.
6 years down the line, the zeal to clean up Accra has waned. A council member of the Coalition of NGOs in Water and Sanitation, Patrick Apoya, is disappointed.
It was almost as if the launching of the National Sanitation Campaign was to announce the end of the desire or the willingness of the government to pursue the clean city agenda.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate government's performance in terms of the promise to make Accra the cleanest city?
Africa, I'll give 1. First and foremost, the preparatory agenda that should have put us on track to pursue it was never put in place. That's number 1. Government will tell you they establish marshals, they what, but it's all talk. There's nothing on the ground.
Filth is threatening to swallow residents of Choko, located in southwestern part of Accra. The community is infamous for its mark-covered coast. Heaps of refuse border the coastline, completely fused with the sand, spilling over onto the surface of murky water that abuses the sight and smell of the bypasser. Pigs, cats, dogs snuggle in the filth while people go about their daily business in the presence of this growing menace, completely accustomed to its sight and stench. Residents agree that they cannot continue to live in filth, but do not know how to bring every resident on board the vision to make their community clean.
Men me push and bola I'm babuana fan about me share what if you tell my me come I'm a bola me fan fan as I'm be a bepu fan and bola to my 6 am be konika ba chia shu esana yoshka ke you know care I'm MPP very seriously they are fun I go for the face slow to the saga and mo fe no choose mo man sani eteshini beni rolling still
freedom of everything.
Mrs. Anita Bill is a fishmonger in Choko. She explains that although some residents do their best to clean their environment and avoid indiscriminate pollution, many more residents litter with impunity because there is no consequence to littering. Some residents have a solution. They want the government to arrest polluters to serve as a deterrent to the larger population. But there is another problem here. Waste containers are not emptied as often as they should, so filth always overflows. Just along the Chamwena are these waste containers, but residents say they are not permitted to dump rubbish into them.
I'm founded by the government. She called back a J or no me. She make my nominee like I'm a cafe. I won't bend to you. I can't bend to you. About will come about will back Kenya. She got the BNF owner come put a back machine. I can machine. Kaka come machine. I like oh, Chibola, I should pay 50% or I pay.
I'm power. I guess sanitation won't be more force a community. Mo fẹ́ mo ní your community awa na sa community em mo fẹ́ mo ní ofio nuke bola ehia o ba bo hia no ba force ke ofie aba invite mo ke assembly kuna sama buka ke we take court
o ka wa fine bu ke afi me enyo meten ambakpa.
The absence of waste containers spells out liberty to residents who dump refuse wherever they please. The resulting filth has become characteristics of their home, and so they go about their duties in total oblivion of the ticking time bomb they are sitting on. So can governments lead and ensure Accra becomes the cleanest city in Africa by at least 2024? Or will some stubborn residents be left to pollute without any repercussions?
The sanitation minister, I will rate her, let's say, 5 out of the 10, because for her, it's like she's been forced to carry a drum of hot water that nobody is willing to help lift and put on the ground.
Will Accra ever be free of the suffocating grasp of filth? JoyNews Tracker.
The youth of Benue traditional area in the whole municipality of the Volta region have lamented the bad nature of the access road. They are asking the government to channel resources toward construction of the road or face their wrath. The Benue road, which links the area to the Volta regional capital Ho, is one of the few untarred roads in the municipality. There's more in the following report by Fred Kwame Asare.
The Kpengwe Road was awarded for construction about 6 years ago. After some work was done on the drains at some sections, the contractor left the site due to the lack of funds to undertake the project. The stretch, which served as a major route for the transport of farm produce from surrounding communities to Ho, continues to deteriorate. The bad state of the road has become a great worry to residents in the Kpengwe traditional area who called on the government to give it attention during a press conference. Divine Ganyo is the convener for the youth.
Almost a year ago, there was a press release concerning our roads from Ho through to Kpengwe to Takla to the appropriate authorities. Unfortunately, the appropriate authorities turned a deaf ear to our plight as far as our roads are concerned. Once again, we want to use this medium to appeal to the authorities to fix our roads immediately. Failure to do so will warrant the wrath of the youth of Kpengwe.
He also expressed disappointment in the unwillingness of some traditional authorities to support development of the community.
Dunenyoza 2022 is a homecoming event to raise funds and bring togetherness. Dutor is against initiatives that will bring development into the community, that is Dunenyoza drilled mechanized boreholes. This we do not understand. So therefore, we presume that he is against the development in the Kpengwe community. With all these points raised, we want to state categorically, we will not respond to his calls again as youth of Kpengwe community until he comes back to the community and plead to make peace with us.
It is the hope of the youth that the traditional authorities would be united and support development initiatives to propel the growth of Kpengwe. Fred Kwame Asare, JoyNews, Kpengwe.
We're still live on JoyNews today. We're live on Facebook and all our social media handles. We take a break. When we return, we'll bring you the very latest coming from the world of business.
Hi there, welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. The Ghana Export Promotion Authority has urged manufacturers to implement the knowledge acquired on standards for export products. According to Francis Fosukwashi, Deputy Director of the Authority for Bono East, Ahafo and Ashanti regions, if products go through the proper processes, they become export ready. Speaking at a workshop for manufacturers in Sunyani, he said the authority and other agencies would continue to offer support on export standards to help attain the goals of the National Export Development Strategy on non-traditional export. Precious Semevo has more.
The National Export Development Strategy has targeted a non-traditional export value of not less than $25 billion by 2029. The plan is to expand the supply base of value-added industrial goods, improve the business regulatory environment, and develop human capital for exports, especially for the 17 priority products. Given this, the capacity of over 50 manufacturers in the Bono region has been enhanced at a sensitization workshop in Sunyain, where partners such as the Ghana Standards and Food and Drugs Authorities offered education on export standards. Francis Fosukwachi, Deputy Director of Ghana Export Promotion Authority for Bono East, Ahafo and Ashanti regions, said to achieve the set targets for non-traditional export, things must be done well.
They should seek knowledge in export. That is why we are doing this sensitization. This country cannot develop, unless the private sector is promoted, is developed. So we expect that they should improve their products. When they do that, they will make their product export ready. And when they, make their product export ready, we can provide the necessary support that they need, and then they can export. What the NES is trying to achieve is to expand, the non-traditional export value. So when they are able to produce the right goods and services, and we also give them the necessary support, then we are moving towards the achievement of that goal.
Program Officer for Capacity Building and Stakeholder Engagement at the African Continental Free Trade Office in Ghana, Grace Entry Asante, said manufacturers need to do more to penetrate the competitive African market.
Since there are 54 countries trading, it's going to be a very competitive market. And to take advantage of that, you have to add value. When I say add value to your product, I mean try to reform. Add in terms of, let's say, branding. If you just write ABC Ventures, explain what your company does. I would say that people don't have the market information that their product could be exported if they do the right thing at the good time. So I think it's about having the market information. That has been the gap. So that is why we are here trying to sensitize people that there's a single market out there in which your products can be taken into.
Some manufacturers spoke to Joy Business.
As a small company, I've been able to acquire the target machinery that will help us to process the quantity I was talking of. That's the 1,000 metric tons. But the only hindrance now is how to set up. So we are thinking that an investor to partner is...
Precious Semevo, Joy Business, Sunyai.
Well, there's more business news coming up on the marketplace at the top of the hour. Sports is coming up next.
Time to check out what's making headlines elsewhere. Scientists say that an invasive species of malaria carrying mosquito from Asia has spread to Africa, where it poses a particular threat to city dwellers. In Africa, where the majority of global deaths from malaria occur, the disease is mostly spread by a mosquito specific to rural areas. But the Anopheles stephensi species of mosquito, which is responsible for most of the cases seen in India and Iranian cities, breeds in urban water supplies and is resistant to most insecticides in common use. That does it for World News, and that's it for JoyNews today. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Log on to myjoyonline.com. You get updates of all the news and developing stories. Enjoy the rest of our programs.